All right, it is 5 o'clock and I see our Mayor Pro Tem is on the call. So how about we all get started? Let me stop my share. Hello, everyone. It's great to see you. I am going to turn the program over at this time. Welcome to the 2021 Youth Town Hall. And our Mayor Pro Tem, Kevin Pitts, is going to welcome everyone to the Town Hall.
Well, thank you. Can you hear me okay? Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. I'm glad you all joined. I think this is a great idea. I'm not sure who put this on, who came up with this idea. I'm sure David or someone can let me know later, but getting feedback from our kids is, I think, an amazing idea. I'd always thought it'd be great if we could go back into the high schools, especially during campaign time, for them to see the process of voting and hearing from candidates and making sure that the kids know to be involved in government. And it's not hard to be involved in local government. And local government affects your life more on a daily basis than any of the other levels of government. The road you drive on, the water you drink, the electricity here in Georgetown, at least electricity in your house, everything in your life. Not everything in your life, but many parts of your life are affected by what happens from the city government level. Yet it's probably the level of government that is ignored the most. So being involved in your local governments is very important, whether it be now or whenever you become adults later in life. So I'm glad to be here. I'm glad everyone else is here. I look forward to listening and learning from these great kids in our future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kevin. We appreciate it. And congratulations on your recent election. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Well, I'm Leslie Yonchuk, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Georgetown Project. And we're just so happy that you're here with us today. Having youth in our community get an opportunity to share their voice and their perspectives on a few things going on in our world. So our vision here at the Georgetown Project is that no child is hungry, hurt, alone, or rejected, and that all children and youth feel loved, respected, and treated with dignity while you're growing up in the Georgetown area. And so we were thinking probably 6 months ago and pulled together a group of young people to talk about some issues that were important to them. And most of them are on this call today as our panelists. But we were thinking that young people across the country are really feeling the effects of a rapidly changing world. So from the COVID-19 pandemic and its effects on their lives and learning environments, to national uprisings around racial issues, to an ever-changing and increasingly uncertain employment landscape. Our nation's and our community's youth are proving not only their resilience, but their capacity to lead. So our hope is that by amplifying young people's voices and empowering them to be a part of the national and our community conversations, their experiences and perspectives can really shape how our schools and our nonprofits and community organizations and our out-of-school time programs, employers and policymakers, and shape how they really support them now and in the aftermath of COVID-19. So today, as we get started, we ask that everybody please mute yourself unless you are speaking to sort of alleviate background noise and so everyone can hear our panelists. And then if you're a young person joining the call, we encourage you to interact through the Zoom chat box or by using the raise hand or question and answer feature as we go along. And then also share your voice and participate in the polls that we have planned for throughout the next hour. If you are adults, a caring adult on the call, we encourage you to listen. And also please interact in the chat with young people and others on the call. So I know there are watch parties happening across the community and after school programs. So if you could, leaders in those programs, please participate in the chat. Let us know where you all are gathered and how many are watching with you today. So I want to welcome some of the adult listeners on the panel. Again, Kevin Pitts, the Mayor Pro Tem, thank you for providing the welcome today. Nathaniel Wagner, we know him as Nat, is the long-range planning manager for the city of Georgetown and a board member of the Georgetown Project. Lexi Largent is the education and outreach coordinator with the Georgetown Project. And Nat and Lexi will be running our polls and monitoring the chat so that we make sure things stay respectful today. We have Chief Wayne Miro of the Georgetown Police Department listening, David Morgan, our Georgetown City Manager, Kimberly Garrett, the Director of Georgetown Parks and Recreation and a board member of the Georgetown Project. Sophia Nelson, I think, is on the call, the City of Georgetown Planning Director. So you young people are getting a theme here, right? These are the leaders in your community who are here to listen to what you have to say today. So we're just so excited about this, right? I'm gonna keep going. David Rainey is on the call, who is the Director of Counseling Services for Georgetown ISD. And Benjamin Borman, who is head of school, and Sean Lance, principal at Gateway College Preparatory High School. And then a lot of our youth after school program providers and partners are on the call or watching, as I said, in watch parties. Just a few of those, by the way, because these young people are involved with these groups. The Georgetown Project, the City of Georgetown's Youth Advisory Board and Teen Court, Southwestern University's Upward Bound, Chamber of Commerce Junior Leadership Georgetown, and Boys and Girls Club of Georgetown, and a few others. So these young people on the panel are not just involved in the schools, they're involved in after-school programs here in our community. We also have various city, school, and community and faith leaders. Also, probably some parents on the call, because believe it or not, many of us do double duty. And we also have raised kids or are raising kids in this community as well. So welcome everyone, we appreciate it. Now, most importantly, I would love our youth panelists to introduce themselves today. So if you would, tell us your name, your school that you're attending, and your grade. Alrighty, so we'll just start top left. Boys and Girls Club.
Hi, I'm Tondo. I'm with the Boys and Girls Club of Georgetown. I'm happy to be here and to talk about my experiences and honesty with just living here in Georgetown in general. I also go to Eastview.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'm Isabella Easton, and I'm a 7th grader, and I go to Tippett Middle School.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lydia Steinley. I'm a freshman at Georgetown High School, and I'm here with the Georgetown Youth Advisory Board.
I'm Sebastian Posada. I'm a sophomore at ECU High School, and I'm part of Teen Court.
Hi, I'm Keelan Grass, 11th grade in Georgetown, and I'm part of Junior Leadership Georgetown.
Hi, I'm Kylie Geiger. I go to Georgetown High School, and I'm in 11th grade, and I'm part of Junior Leadership Georgetown.
Hi, I'm Ayla Hoopmacher. I'm a junior at Gateway College Preparatory School. Nice to see you.
Welcome. Okay, is Arturo?
Yeah, hello. I'm Arturo. I go to Gerald High School, and I'm in the 11th grade.
Welcome.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Marcelli. I go to ECU High School, and I'm with the Boys and Girls Club.
Fantastic. Did we get all of our panelists? Arturo, are you able to show your video?
Yes, but I prefer not to.
Okay, no problem. We're just glad you're here with us. Welcome. Okay, have I left anyone out? I'm looking at all these wonderful faces and I want to be sure I didn't leave anyone out. Welcome panelists. We're so excited to have you here. Thanks. I know how busy it is this time of year. We appreciate you making time today. So we're going to just jump right in. Let's have a quick icebreaker in the chat for everyone on the call. Here's the question. What are you most grateful for today? So let's share a little bit in the chat, and then Nat will follow up and provide some of the input and start our first poll. What are you most grateful for today?
Faith and family, hamburgers. Sounds like the nest is out there grilling. Got me hungry for those hot dogs that we were talking about. We got some great weather in Central Texas this week. It's warm outside. I'm seeing a lot of thankfulness for the youth for giving us their time and sharing with us. Sounds like a lot of the adults who are here to listen are thankful to actually get to hear from the youth. Some folks talking about faith and family.
I love the gas in my car.
That reminds me to stop on the way home. Sounds like maybe some STAR testing is over with now, so that's people are grateful for that. Faith and family, it seems like wife and kids, family and kids. Matt, thank you for sharing. The courage for the youth to participate, it does take a lot. So thank you for being here. I share that gratitude there. And from Teen Court, from Tina Heine is talking about people stepping up and being volunteers in the community already, some of the people who are already giving of their time. Anybody grateful that May is almost over and school is almost out?
Awesome. There is no summer for parents. That is so true.
David, what kind of dog do you have that you're grateful for?
I have an Australian Labradoodle. He's right here actually sleeping, but you can't see him very well, but yeah, it's pretty great.
Awesome. Teen Court is now able to celebrate in person. That's wonderful.
Miss B is pretty great. I agree with you. Always good to see her in the community. She works so hard. Well, Leslie, I think we have quite a few folks that have chimed in and what they're happy and grateful for. Anybody else want to throw a last minute chat in there?
Okay. Thank y'all so much for participating. It never hurts to stop and just take a moment and think that we always have things to be grateful for. So thank y'all for sharing. with that. And I think Nat is going to now kind of roll us into our first poll of the day.
So you guys have probably all done this one before on Zoom, but you should have a poll that has popped up. And the question is if you're a virtual or on-campus learner right now. We got about 30% of the votes in so far. Appreciate you all navigating. If anybody's having trouble getting to the poll, feel free to raise your hand or send me a chat. We'll get it worked out. Is anybody having difficulty seeing it? Sometimes on two screens, it might be hard to see if your poll has popped up. Right now, we have about a little less than half of the folks taking the poll. So if you're having trouble finding the poll, just send me a chat or raise your hand. Want to give just a couple more, another minute or so for everyone to finish up, those who haven't had a chance to vote. Just as an FYI, as we poll you tonight, we appreciate your honesty and your courage to share, but these results will be anonymous. So we're not collecting who's saying what from the polling. So appreciate you sharing in the polling.
If it pops up, is there an option for adults to click out of it so that they don't have to make selection and skew the results?
Great question. So we appreciate the adult listeners in the room. Sounds like Matt has figured it out that there is. But yeah, we would like the feedback from the youth today. So if you can let them take those polls and get that feedback, that would be great. Okay, we have about 35% of the vote in so far. Which is probably just about the number of youth that we have tonight. So is anybody else that's a youth participant still needing a chance to enter in their score?
And those of you who are in watch parties and have groups of youth, if you could just maybe put in the chat or something, or allow people to poll individually, just so we have an idea of your group, if it's predominantly virtual or in person. Looks like all in person at the Nest. Okay.
Well, Leslie, I think we have about 13 of the votes, and that seems about right for the number of youth that we have participating today.
So thank you.
I'll go ahead and close that poll.
Thank you, Nat.
So the results are in. It seems like we're nearly split, but a small majority of folks are virtual, and there's about 5 of those folks who are on campus. So if we counted all the Nest in, that would probably put us over the majority of being on campus.
Thank you. Okay. All right, so we're going to jump in with our first topic this evening. So panelists, get ready, and we'll have an open share. Y'all just jump in one after another if you would like to share your perspective. So we're going to talk about COVID-19 for just a moment. Again, feel free to share in the chat, folks, everyone on the call. So it's been an unprecedented year, no doubt, and often youth are left out of the conversation as schools and communities have navigated the COVID-19 pandemic. So school closures and the shifts to online learning, mask mandates, shutdown orders, just to name a few of the things you all have been through, not to mention maybe how COVID-19 has impacted your own family and their health. So as you reflect kind of over this past year, can you please share publicly, if you were virtual or on campus as a learner, or both at some time throughout the year, how COVID-19 has affected your learning during the school day, and then maybe your life outside the school day navigating our community. And so maybe a challenge and even an opportunity, all is welcome. So whoever would like to start, please take off.
So I personally, I've done both throughout the school year. I've been online and I've been in person. I found myself having a very hard time learning and understanding what I was being taught. And I felt like it was more of a just get the work done rather than the actual learning experience. And so when I came back into school, I really found myself understanding what I was learning rather than just trying to get assignments done. And I felt as if it was a lot easier for me to understand what I was learning, getting to communicate with people, and just have my teacher by my side, just ask questions. Life now during COVID, it was pretty tough. I've had COVID multiple times. So obviously the quarantine and the whole healing process, it took a little bit. But life now, I feel like it's slowly coming back into how it was almost a year and a half ago. I feel like it's a lot more precautions though, having to wear a mask, having to social distance, just so I can have a good experience, but also to keep the people around me safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Sebastian.
I've been primarily a virtual learner this whole year. I go in person for one class, but other than that, I'm at home doing all my work. And different than Sebastian, I've been able to retain my information that I'm doing it at home. But I think that's just me. Everyone's different with it. But I think COVID's changed me by realizing how much of our lives were not prepared for the outbreak, how much has changed. Our teachers, government, and society had to go through drastic changes. No one was expecting this outbreak, so I think it came as a reality shock on how just one disease could change our lives so drastically. So I think that came at the expense of some kids' education and other people's health. And I just think that's something that going forward, there will be a new normal. It won't go to be the same as before, but we'll go forward differently with how we approach different items.
Thank you, Lydia.
Alrighty, so I've done a combination of online and in-person school. Like I did in-person school for the first 2 semesters. I'm currently in online right now. But I would have to say just the main difference, like I can learn pretty well online, but I switched mainly because we weren't really doing anything in person. You would just sit there with your computer, and I felt like I could do that at home the same. Like teachers would help, but it was more of just get the work done and you can do your own thing.
Thank you.
I agree with you. I've been remote all year. I just go to school for one class, so I go for my one class and then I come out. And then I've found it equally as beneficial to just do school at home. I've talked to other people who go in person. They say, like Keelan said, you don't really do much. You just sit there and talk to your friends or whatever. So I've able to get a job and I work at like 3 instead of having to go in at 5. So I kind of have I guess I do my schoolwork, but I feel like I'm able to do other things as well.
Thank you, Mikhaili. If you could get a little bit closer to your microphone, that might help a bit. We're getting a little bit of trouble hearing you. So thank you. Anyone else like to share?
I personally have switched back between being virtual and in person multiple times throughout the year, predominantly being virtual. I still feel that I have retained all the knowledge that I have been taught in both scenarios. The difference for me is the productivity level. So like the time efficiency in which I'll get what I need to get done, and thus also my confidence level in it. I find that I'm a little bit more productive when I'm in person, just because like you have teachers watching you and you aren't going to goof off, you're going to be productive. So at least for me.
Anyone else?
I was online, but now I'm currently in person. The thing that was hard for me is because I play sports, and it was kind of hard to go from online and then every day have to travel for when it's time for athletics. But now that I'm in person, I can just do school and then go straight to athletics. So it's easier for me to do.
Thank you, Isabella.
My learning experience was really difficult because I'm the type of person who's very visual and hands-on, so it's definitely a lot easier to go to school. But because I'm really try to be really safe with COVID and everything, I chose to stay home no matter the difficulty. Yeah, it also just feels like just get your work done. I could say that I learned about 30% of anything this year, and everything else kind of just went out the window, which is going to probably hurt me in the end, but I'm choosing to, but hopefully I can go back to school next year.
Thank you.
No, I can't.
So it looks like Mikhaili was saying that she was just had been remote, but found it okay to learn at home, and that she has been more productive with other things other than school, but that she's also felt that she's been able to learn well. Okay, so let's move on. I would like to know, did adults at your school or your after-school program or church or community, adults in those settings, give you the opportunity to provide input on how COVID-19 was affecting young people, and maybe some input into the protocols that were put in place at the time and how those affected young people? So just quickly, have you been given before today an opportunity to have input?
The only opportunity I've been giving was a quick poll before the school year started on what do we want to happen. That's it.
Same here. I think we got maybe a survey in the beginning of the year and a survey in the middle of the last semester.
Okay. Anyone else have an opportunity?
As far as I can remember, I don't think I've gotten it. It might have just been a survey. I can't really remember.
Okay.
No one gave me the opportunity.
Okay. Okay, so now you get the opportunity, okay? So do you have ideas for the school and community leaders on this call as life returns to our new normal, or whatever that looks like going forward, a new rhythm in this next year? What are the important issues that leaders should prioritize from your perspective and from your interaction with your peers? Because you bring a lot of perspectives of your peers to the call today also. And then as we move forward, what specific supports do you think young people will need as we go into this next year?
I have the idea of, I don't have an idea of what y'all should do, because that's y'all's job, but if y'all had to prioritize something, I would say mental health, because COVID really did affect people's mental health, depending on if people lost their job, people lost family members, loved ones, rather if school is hard or rather just anything in general, I recommend and I hope that people can or y'all prioritize helping in with mental health. That's what I think.
I have a friend and she's scared to come back. So I think that during the summer, there should be days that people that were online and online only should be able to see friends and like hang out so they can feel safe coming back to school next year.
I want to add on to what Ton said. So I saw a study that our mental health for teenagers between the age of 14 and 18 has increased 9.6%. And so like prioritizing mental health in a way where we have our teachers, we have our staff just being able to come and check up. I feel like as teenagers, we don't need the huge things. We'd rather be like, how's everything going? You know what I'm saying? Like more of a conversation starter to know that they're there for us. And especially with the year so hectic as this one, just as students knowing that teachers care outside of the classroom. And so a way to progress with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, to kind of follow up, I have to say if just there's any just more interaction with students, that would be great. Just trying to emphasize that kind of mental health and make sure that they're okay with this transition.
I agree with the other speakers. I also think that not only mental health, but for the kids that have been strictly remote or remote the last part of the year, the transition, like I have not seen anyone at school for over a year. So that transition going back next year will be a bit rough for the ones who haven't seen anyone. You'll have to start from square one. So I think mental health and then the new getting back into the swing of things.
Can y'all
In order-
hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry. I think combining the ideas of like seeing other students and stuff, like I've been remote too, but I went to take the SAT or whatever, and it was so weird to see everyone because I haven't seen anyone in so long. But I think not seeing anyone affects your mental health also. So to combine those two, you could have like groups or something to check up on each other about mental health, or just have like genuine conversations or whatever to combine those two thoughts, I guess.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to share? Okay, thank you so much. We appreciate that. I know it's going to be quite a transition for some going back in who have been a little disconnected over the last year. And I know that there's a gentleman called David Ramey on this call that's paying particular attention of how, and again, the folks at Gateway Prep as well, on how they help young people come back in next year and re-engage. So thank y'all for sharing that. We're going to move on now and talk about equity. There's a lot of conversation across the nation about equity. So I'd like you all to maybe share, what does equity mean to you?
To me, equity means the ability to have an equal opportunity and equal stance in programs and spaces. So there's no bullying, no discrimination, no, oh, they're better at this, so they must be better at that. So like no assumptions. Everybody's even, square one. We earn what we get.
Thank you.
I think equity means all the people are treated the same no matter what.
Thank you.
Equity for me really just means that everyone gets a fair chance at everything. Like everyone starts at the same level.
I would say equity start is exactly what everyone is saying. We start at the same place. I feel like those opportunities have been able to all join these opportunities and after school clubs as well, and have it in a secretive way, but more of like, hey, let's like, this is going on if you want to join. let's get it, you know?
I agree. I think equity is also the impartial treatment that everybody should get, that without even having to meet you, you should be treated the same as anyone else.
Thank you. Okay, so part of equity, I heard some of you touch on this, is in the spaces and the places and the opportunities that are available for young people at school, but particularly in the community, which is kind of what our lens is about today. So we know that so many good things are planned for teens in the evening hours and on the weekends and outside the school day. And oftentimes there's really low attendance. So for those of all of us who are planning those events in the community, can you all help us understand kind of what are the demands on your time? What are some of the challenges and the barriers that you face in maybe accessing city or community events that are planned for teens outside of the school day?
Okay, can y'all hear me now? I tried to disconnect my AirPods to see if that'll help.
We're still having a little trouble, Mikayla, good. So you might, if you don't mind, putting it in the chat so we make sure that we hear you, because you're saying good things. So thank you. So barriers to participation, demands on your time, and other challenges for participating at the community level in so many wonderful things that are planned and available for young people. And do you feel you know about those things also?
I don't have any barriers because my parents are able to take me places, but I do have friends that have many situations and they can't afford going places, or their parents just can't drive them because they're either at work or they don't have a car.
I know me personally, I have a kind of a rough home life. And so transportation is a huge thing. And at times as well, for Teen Core, I didn't hear about Teen Core until it was the last day to sign up. So I feel like more of a exposure to it prior, and not just be a last minute thing, like, hey, because I know for me in both of those aspects, finding out last minute, it's gonna be very hard to find a ride. And typically I Uber places. And so if it's up with that, I really prefer not to Uber. And so really have more of that exposure and to be like, hey, this is where it is. And so I can be like, okay, I can find a ride. I have like a week to be like, hey, can you take me? You know, and something within that realm.
Kind of similar. Sorry.
No, you can go. Go ahead.
Kind of similar to what Sebastian said. It's just, I feel like every time there's a notice of some event or whatever, you don't find out about it until 2 days before it. And a lot of times I work. You just don't have enough time to actually get to that place or make time and arrangements and stuff like that.
For me, what Sebastian said, I usually Uber or Lyft everywhere, but not a lot of people are fortunate or to have that. And it is expensive too, about like $10 a ride to anywhere. It's really expensive, and people are also thinking about safety wise if they should or not, because news, it can be really scary. Also I see public transportation like the buses, but I tried using it once and it is very confusing for me to use, and I don't know how to use it. That could just be my part on like not paying attention or doing it. And the best way to get info to like out to teens, and I just saw in chat, is like through social media and like posting it. Getting like, I don't know, a social media, I don't think you should do that, but like you should like post, I guess, and then it usually spreads the word around, or like get like teachers or counselors or leaders to like talk about it. Social media, everything, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, all of it. Use all of it. And yeah, that's
Thank you. You just answered a question I was about to ask. How do you get your information? How are the best ways that you get your information? Thank you. I'm also seeing that Mikayla said that also she has a lot of schoolwork that keeps her busy even after the school day, and that transportation is not a huge issue for her, but she does know that it is for some of her friends. And also that she feels like she's not always informed of what's being offered in the community. And so it goes back to how we're getting the word out about these opportunities and how you all are accessing the information.
If you can even like set up like a remind, like if like you can like set up like a global remind for like what's it called, Georgetown, and like have like other people spread that out and like get the word on it. I'm pretty sure that can work as well, if not even better than Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat, I feel.
I feel like for the students that aren't, because I know a lot of kids at my school that they don't use social media. So an example, at our youth ministry in my church, we have a thing where we go on our Instagram account and say what's going on. And then they also let us know on our group me, and then they allow us to be the messengers as well. And so something we do for Teen Core too is they let us know the information, and then within each other we talk about it and be like, hey, this is what we're doing. Let's bring people in, you know. So maybe a way like that where we can have, like how Ton suggested, like a group me or something of that nature, where you let us know and then we let people know. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like for me, I could see that being very beneficial.
Thank you. I'm seeing some really good stuff in the chat here. I'm not a social media guru by any means, but I do know that's how we're going to get the information to you all. I see y'all you're laughing at me. And so that's probably not a surprise to you. But this is just really great information. I'm getting a little distracted looking at it. It's pretty awesome. So I can't wait to save this chat and begin to wade through some of it. But I think there's also opportunities maybe that we coordinate better with schools and how community information gets into, you know, school channels and things like that, and is available to you all in multiple places and spaces. So that's really cool. Okay. Thank y'all so much for sharing some of that. So we're going to move on. So I noticed that transportation came up. I'm just wondering how many of you have used public transportation in Georgetown? And basically that's the Go Geo, right? City folks. There's also Lyft, Uber, Bubble, those kinds of things. Just a show of hands. Do y'all Uber? Uber, okay. Do you share rides, get a ride from friends, those kinds of things as well? And just thinking from the perspective of your friends with no transportation options, do you know if they're accessing public transportation or if they're just trying to get rides wherever they can? Happy to jump in. Anyone can jump in on this. I don't want to drill down too much on transportation, but I know that sometimes that's a real issue. And I know our city is particularly interested in sort of, you know, finding opportunities that work for our city in a city our size. So any thoughts about that, drop them in the chat and we're going to kind of move on. Okay, so do you all feel, again, we're talking about sort of in this equity lens, do you feel the environment at your school is safe and inclusive for all students?
So I'm like partial. I was thinking about this earlier, actually. I feel like I can only speak for ECU, obviously, but I feel like it's very divisive. It's very divisive because it's either about politics, how you identify as, what you believe in. And so the way I see it is you're mixed up within these groups that if you are here, you're not allowed to like this person. And if you're here, you're not allowed to like this person. And as someone that's very like quiet on these type of things and just looking as an outside bystander, it's very complicated. Because it's like a school's supposed to be a safe place for people to express who they are and express what they like and what they believe in. But I feel like if we're getting judged for every single thing that we believe, then it doesn't feel like a safe place. Rather, it feels like a prison. You have your groups, and for me, being a part of that, it's like sometimes like, really, man, like you're not gonna allow me to think my own things, but if I have something to rebuttal, I'm a bad person. So at times I could say yes, it's a safe place, but at other times I feel like it's very rough, because if you don't believe in what they believe in, you're automatically considered a bad person and considered a lot of awful things. So yeah.
Thank you.
I have to agree with Sebastian on a lot of those things. You can make both sides of the story, that yes, it is inclusive, and no, it isn't. The reason why you could say that it is because people have friends, people can get in groups, people can, defend each other, people can do that, but also it's not because you have that in the first place. People bully each other, but you have a reason to defend each other, and it is pretty much it's not, sometimes it's really not equal, and it's not inclusive, and it could be because of politics, it could be because of issues nowadays, it could be because of racism, it could be because of homophobia, it could be many things, but you can't change much of that because it is of how people are educated and how people are raised in their own home. So having that opportunity to educate kids on what it's like to be equal, what it's like to for LGBTQ and Black people and Asian people and Mexican people, educating people and showing that, hey, this is what's wrong, this is what it's like, can help people to make it equal and inclusive for everyone else. But as of right now, it's really not, and we need to do something to change that.
I agree with a lot of those, but I also think that the schools are trying. The schools want to make it inclusive. The teachers want to make it inclusive. So I think a lot of the problem is student-on-student interaction and peer-on-peer. You get judged by your peers. You get judged by everyone with it. So I think the inclusiveness would have to be instituted from a student's level with it.
Good point.
Personally, at my school, I feel that there's pretty big inclusivity. Everyone there seems to be equal. No, I haven't witnessed any bullying personally. However, it is interesting that most everybody at my school, college prep, is white, and most everybody's Catholic. And it's interesting because it's always assumed by the teachers and the students alike that everybody there is a white heterosexual person who's Catholic or Christian or some denomination there. And there's very little like, oh, what do you think about this? Like there will be comments like, you know how this happened in the Bible? Well, we can relate, like just to relate it back to other things. And there are people who don't understand that, like, what's that sort of thing. So yeah, so maybe some education on other customs would be a good idea.
Leslie, I'm seeing some chat about a lot of peer-to-peer and student-to-student, but it sounds like some of the folks are saying that at least the schools or the organizations are trying, but there's a lot of difficulty in peer-to-peer.
May I bring up an idea, a potential idea, if that's okay? Something I see a lot of, and so I took a few weeks during the school year just to not speak, but just to listen. Sometimes me personally, I want to listen. I want to listen so I can get perspective instead of what I think. I get to hear what other people think. And so with that, it's like, why can't we have a moment or a class or a time of the day? And it doesn't necessarily be like fifth period, this is what we're doing. No, I mean like just in general, let's have conversations about these worldly issues. I feel like we are so immune to what we believe in that when anyone else tries to feed us information that will benefit us or get us thinking, we're like, no, because this is what I believe in. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like if we were able to understand other people's perspectives, we would be like, okay, I see what you mean. Now this is what I mean. And ultimately, we're not here to persuade or change people's minds. I'm just trying to understand what you believe in and why you believe in it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to bash someone for how they feel or how they believe, because that's their morals. And I'm not going to attack someone's morals because that's not what I believe in. And so if we have these talks, we have these conversations saying, hey, why do you believe in this? One, we're getting to know each other better as people. And two, we get to actually think and be like, okay, why do I believe in this? Is it because this is what I truly believe in, or this is what I'm being fed from people telling me to say? And so from there, we're growing, we're learning, and we ultimately find a middle ground, which would, one, find me respect with so much people, and then vice versa. Just to lay that out there.
I agree with Sebastian. A time to have those discussions would be very, very useful.
Thank you. So you all really have started to answer the next thing I wanted to ask, is if you had had the opportunity to have these discussions. But before we talk about that, I want you to shift now, because it isn't all just about what happens in the school day. You live in this community as well. So do you feel that the Georgetown community is safe, has a safe and inclusive environment for young people?
I would say yes. I would say entering my sophomore year, which is this year for me, I was very indecisive of what I wanted to do or where I wanted the rest of my life to turn to. And I've had a lot of influence, a lot of teacher mentorship, which I am very grateful for. And not just leading me to a direction, but like helping me and like and guiding me as well. For instance, Miss Heine with Teen Court, that mentorship, that communication has just been so beneficial. I've always loved law. I always loved law enforcement. And I came this year and I was like, what can I do that's something law enforcement? And Ms. Gonzalez, my law teacher, connected me to Ms. Heine. It's like, now I'm doing Teen Court. Now I'm finding something I'd like to do. And so now I'm growing in city politics. I'm getting to know the law. I'm getting to know these new people. And I just feel safe because, one, I have these people that I know are by my side to see me succeed and try to help me to be the best person I can be. But now I can share that with others and help people with that as well. So I would say Georgetown and the overall community has just been very beneficial to me with the teachers, and with the servant leaders. So yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else like to share?
I haven't lived here very long, but the community is really safe. Like every time I try to hang out with my friends, everybody's very inclusive and everybody asks how my day is and how I'm feeling. I go to the store and everybody's just really nice.
Thank you. Anyone else have a feel just sort of the environment out in the community?
I kind of want to say yes, but also no, but no with a grain of salt, as in like sometimes, because of yes, you can say that that people are very inclusive and people are very accepting and welcoming, but of course you can also say that there are people that aren't, and this is a really hard answer, so hold on, give me like 1 second. The other day, I was in the square and I was walking around, hanging out with a group of friends, and I see that there is these two organizations, one for Black Lives Matter and one for the other side. I don't know what they were protesting for or what they're doing, but you can obviously tell that them two were going at each other and that they were arguing, they were saying things, and just that alone is not very, like, you can agree and say that that's not inclusive, like not necessarily not saying that's not inclusive, but you can say that like that's a little bit scary for anyone that is with on either side. Not saying that protesting and whatever is not okay, but sometimes you can look at that and look at it and be like, oh, okay, I see what that's like doing. This is a very hard answer, so I'm trying to like say this very like like not necessarily respectfully, but like with like, like from my own experience and taking account everything. So I can say yes and no.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Would anyone
I
else?
I actually agree with that a lot. I was walking around the square the other day and you saw those groups, and my first thought was, whoa, okay. It was just kind of because they were kind of not pressuring people, not the Black Lives movement, but it was like the other one. It's kind of you walk past them, it was very awkward, it was just kind of uncomfortable. But other than that, I have to say Georgetown is pretty much very safe.
I have to agree with all that. And it's not just Black Lives Matter. It's not just the LGBTQ community. It's also like, it depends on who you are and where you want to be. I know personally for me, I'm in the NJROTC, and whenever I tell someone that, a lot of times adults will say, well, you don't plan on joining the Navy, do you? And I mean, I don't know what I want to be, but I just don't like the pressure for when I say I'm in an engineering class or when I say I'm in ROTC. I feel like a lot of times I'm, I guess, chastised for saying I'm in these groups from other adults because they think they have, the people who do these kinds of things have a certain image, and I just think that's a stereotype that needs to be broken.
Thank you. Arturo, are you still with us? Would you like to add anything? I know you live in the Gerald community and go to Gerald High School, but we're happy to have your perspective as well, if you'd like to share.
From what I've seen, it seems safe and inclusive, but then again, I don't live there, so I might not be able to take like a deeper look at it in case something like this argument with like protesters on either side, like I might not see the whole thing. I kind of just pass through sometimes.
Thank you. So thank you so much. I think a lot of the conversations that we would have and things we heard today might have been a little bit different than what we would have heard a year ago, or, a lot has gone on in the world and in our lives. And so we just appreciate y'all kind of processing through this and helping us kind of see how young people are feeling. There's great stuff in the chat, and I'm not going to look because I get distracted when I look over there. But Nat, I'm thinking because we're running a little up on our time, looking of what we want to do, I feel like they've kind of told us about that second and third poll. Maybe. What do you think?
Yeah, I think great conversation. We have some next steps, Leslie, that we can continue with this conversation. I think it's important, at least, that we reflect some of the things that we heard today. So if those youth that are joining us today would allow us, I think it would be good just for some of the adults to share, hey, this is what I heard today, and this is kind of how I think it affects my work and how I'm committed to what you've shared today. So I would be happy to share that, which is I'm happy to volunteer for the fall and the summer and keep this conversation going. So if and how I can be of help with that, I'd like to do that. And I appreciate everyone sharing today.
Thank you. If I could do one quick thing before, and we've asked Chief Nero and David to pop on at the end and kind of recap a little bit of what they've heard. But if I could just have you all tell us, is there one thing you love about living in Georgetown? And maybe is there one thing that you would change?
One thing that I could say that I love living in Georgetown is that I could say that I wouldn't be anywhere else. It's, even though we all disagree with each other, even though we all have gone through trauma, this, that, and that, people passing away, mental health, COVID, anything, it's like I would never go anywhere else. This is a great place to be, no matter what problems or solutions that we all can do. But anything that I would change is, I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now. Do you want to say anything?
Personally, my mental health is not that good right now, but from the help I've been getting is amazing. and I would not change anything about Georgetown. It's a home to me.
Thank you.
I love Georgetown for the things that have happened to me in my life. I feel like I've had every excuse to do the negative things that would lead me down to a bad path. But because of the grace of the teachers, because of the amazing leaders that we have in this city, one, I was able to recognize what I was going through and say, I'm not going to use this as a way for people to feel sorry for me, but I'm going to use this as extra motivation, just to, one, learn from it, and two, just to grow. With Team Core, I used to be part of Boys and Girls Club. Like, organizations like these have been super beneficial in my life, with life-lasting friendships and relationships, and just amazing mentors. Something I would change is, honestly, I don't know. That's a tough one. But I would say just keep striving, because Georgetown's going to be a city everyone's going to want to bring their kids to. And I'm just so excited that these are the people that are going to be leading it. So, yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have to agree, but Georgetown is very much, they take care of their own, if that what it means. It's very connected community. And I think if there's just kept more outreach, just more things like that, we would be good to go.
Thank you.
I really like all the nature and stuff and going on hikes with my family. But I wish there was a bunch more kids my age to hang out with and to get to know.
Thank you. That's amazing, y'all. I really appreciate that. I mean, the resilience of young people are coming through every time these young people speak. You know, I feel like a lot of times adults can learn from youth, because they realize there are challenges in our communities, our schools, and our nation, but they're so excited and hopeful about the future. And so just appreciate y'all sharing so much today. We may run just a couple minutes over. If it's okay, I would like to have Chief Nero and David jump in and just sort of wrap a couple things up for us, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'd love to. I got a long list of notes, so I'm just going to rip through some of the highlights of what I heard. One, I appreciate the invitation just to have the opportunity to listen. We got a lot of smart kids. I feel so much better about our future just getting to spend an hour with y'all. A hot dog is not a sandwich. That's number one takeaway, right? My boss said it, so I got to abide by it. It keeps me employed. We have a lot to be grateful for, right? Today, whether it's, watching the news or anything, all we hear is the bad stuff. It was nice just to listen to y'all think about, for just a minute in the era of COVID, all the good things that are going on. Because what gets our focus and our attention soon becomes our reality, right? And I think often we don't stop to just think about, what we do have in just being grateful. There's always going to be more. There's always going to be different, but sometimes we just got to pay attention to what's in front of us or who's in front of us. 62% virtual learners. Like, that is so hard for y'all. Like, the adults, like, in general, it's hard for adults, but our heart breaks for y'all. This has been a challenging year for everybody, but for y'all, when you're growing and developing, like, I remember taking online classes in college years ago. Half of y'all probably weren't even born then. And it was challenging then for me as an adult working, taking classes online. And, a couple of you mentioned the box checking. Like, that's not what your experience is supposed to be, going through all these challenges, but you're doing it. And there's resiliency that's being built. And it's one of those, a bunch of you mentioned mental health. That's an issue for adults, let alone children. You'd be surprised to know the number one killer of police officers is suicide. It's not bad guys, it's actually suicide. And it's hard for us in a leadership realm to make sure our officers understand that it's okay not to be okay sometimes, right? And we've always had this culture of not being able to even talk about things. And my hope, my prayer for y'all is that it's okay not to be okay. And I want you to hear that from us. If you're not okay, don't be afraid to ask for help. There's a couple of you talked about you're not in a good place, but the help you're getting is overwhelming. Like, that's how it's supposed to work. And you come out of that tunnel at the other end, you're going to be stronger and more resilient. And then you're going to be in a position to be there for other people. Mental health is critical, but how we manage mental health is equally as important. And if you see a friend not doing well, like, get involved. Like, it's not okay to not say anything either. Let me see. Being safe at school, it's glad for me as the chief to hear that you all feel safe in our community. I mean, statistically, that's true, but we're also equally is tuned into when people don't feel safe. There's crime and there's fear of crime. You can be safe statistically, but not feel safe, and that's really important to us. So that's good to hear. Sebastian and Ton, you guys were on. Did I say it right? Is it Ton? Yes, good. You guys are rock stars. When you're 21, you come see me for a job. Like, the divisiveness in school, the politics, the labeling, like, that just makes life so much more challenging. But what I want to tell y'all is, like, the adults aren't doing much better. When we look at our leaders at the highest levels for years, like, we're some of the worst at doing that. Like, we're supposed to be modeling behavior for y'all that is more inclusive, right? And more accepting and more about leadership. And sometimes we don't see that, and it's no wonder you guys are following the same examples that some of your leaders put in front of you. And sometimes the children need to become the adults. And that, my adults out here probably don't want to hear that, but sometimes that's true. Sebastian, you said it, listen and learn is probably the best thing you can do, because when you listen and learn, you get to exercise the most powerful tool that you guys have in building relationships, and that's just asking questions. The more questions you ask, the more you learn about people, the more you figure out what you have in common. Ton, a great example of what I just said is what you see on the square. You have two groups of adults that have different viewpoints on an issue, and how do we see adults behaving, right? It's okay to have passion for any cause, but when you do that at the detriment of another group, that's a problem. And I'm not afraid to say that out loud, right? That's a problem. Like, where we put our focus is what's most important. And when we focus on our differences, we're never going to build relationships. When we focus on the person in front of us and we ask enough questions to listen and learn more, and we focus on more about what we have in common, to me, that's what Georgetown is all about. It's why I love living here. It's why I love being your police chief. And I hope to be around here for a while. So that's my 2 cents. I heard a lot more, but I heard a ton to help me do my job better relative to all of y'all. So you guys got bright futures. A couple of you I'm going to see when you're 21, you come see us for a job. Don't go hire, don't be going to the fire department either. Come to the police department. We need good people.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. David?
Well, as usual, the chief went first and stole my thunder. So way to go, chief. We really appreciate that. No, I tell you what, I'm really I'm thankful that I was invited to be a part of this, and I've not surprised, but I've been really inspired by what I've heard. And I, the things that you talked about and being stressed about is, I can tell you that being in an organization, being a city manager, and working and kind of leading an organization of over 800 people, the adults are seeing the same thing: issues in mental health, to discussions about equity, to living through an environment where there's a lot of divisiveness about politics and different perspectives and not hearing each other and working together. Those are all things that that adults are facing as well. And so I guess my point of saying that is just to say you're not alone in that. And what I'm encouraged by is that one, that I see resilience through it. I see you all working through it, overcoming it, using the resources that are available to you. I've heard several people talking about that. Seeing the value of relationships and friendships, and also making sure that you maintain hope about the future and about tomorrow. There's a lot of things for you to be hopeful about, and for our community, but for yourself and for your future. And I'm just glad to have heard some of that. We absolutely have things we need to be working on as a community. I'm surprised none of you talked about the Chick-fil-A line at Wolf Ranch as a problem. So thank you for not. I'm seeing people agree though. So yeah, we understand that's not a city responsibility. We'd love to see Chick-fil-A open up another store and relieve some pressure, but we do hear about Chick-fil-A every once in a while. But I tell you what, I'm really excited that you're engaging with this program. And I just encourage you, as our Mayor Pro Tem said at the beginning, Kevin Pitts, to engage in our community. And there are lots of ways in which you can do that and you can participate. We want you to be involved. Your voice is really important to us. And so I've written my notes down. I wish you gave me more things to change though, but I appreciate you loving Georgetown. There are a lot of people in this community that love Georgetown. And it makes it a wonderful place to be. And so y'all keep making a difference. I'm seeing a lot of adults on this call that make a huge difference in loving on Georgetown. I'm seeing our other staff and appreciate y'all being engaged as well. So with that, I'll sign up, but thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Really appreciate it. So as we wind up here, I apologize for us going over. We could probably talk another couple of hours together, and we'll definitely make time to do that again in the future. But wanted to let you know as a follow-up to this that we are launching a youth engagement survey. The Georgetown Project will have it on our website. It's a partnership of the city and the Georgetown Project. And I think Nat dropped the link to that survey in the chat. We would love as many young people to take this as possible, 8th through 12th grade. Please tell your friends, please share the link. I hope David, I see Cindy Pike on the call as well with TISD, if we'd be able to maybe share this and encourage kids to take it. Just to get more input from young people on the things we talked about today. So we would love to do that. It will be open until June 30th. So y'all please spread the word, and we will as well, and hope we'll get input from a lot of young people in the community. So as we're wrapping up, thank you so much for being here. Youth panelists, you're amazing. Thank you for sharing your perspective with us. I always learn so much when I listen to kids. So thank you very, very much. Wish you the best for the rest of the school year and on throughout the summer. And as we go forward, we will be in touch. Again, adults on the call, as a reminder, a planning group of youth actually started working together back in December to talk about these issues, and we're a part of this process going forward to today. One thing I heard is that young people have the best things to say when you let them talk. It is absolutely amazing. A lot of the things programming that we have brought to the community over the years started with young people telling us that that is an issue in our community. So we listen to you, we thank you, and we will follow up with you. So on behalf of the City of Georgetown and the Georgetown Project, thank you all for being here today. Have a wonderful night and hope to see you soon. Thank you all.